Hello, my name is Andy and I am the Village Idiot. I'm armed with a car and a GoPro and an unhealthy amount of time on my hands. I'm using that time to attempt to visit every civil parish in England. You're watching the Newark and Sherwood series, a district of 84 civil parishes right in the centre of Nottinghamshire. Come with me as we delve into one of them. Welcome back to Newark and Sherwood, everybody. It's a glorious sunny Saturday morning in the district, and I'm beginning this one in the village's very own car park. It doesn't look much like a car park, I must admit, but this is, according to both Google Maps and a sign which you see off the road here. And this car park is right next to an indoor football pitch, whatever it is. I'm just going to have a look at this, see what it is. Yep. It's a very nice astroturfed pitch. There's a little play area there, and this is a village which is quite a nice walk around. It's nice and circular, it's not very big, and it's called Besthorpe. This Newark and Sherwood video is sponsored by Past Days, a family history blog by June Terrington. You'll find a link in the description. Here's my disclaimer for people who may be watching me for the first time. I say things as I would in my native accent and dialect. As a result, I may not pronounce things in the same way as the locals do. Remember, I'm a visitor. It's impossible to know everything. Leave me a comment, spin me a like, and bash that subscribe button. Let's get to today's parish video. So this is Besthorpe, to be found on the A1133 just to the south of Girton and to the north of the much larger Collingham. You can't fault the locals when it comes to parking provision here. There's actually a really good reason why that car park exists, and we'll touch on it as we walk around. Our first mission is to walk out onto the A1133 briefly so we can pick up Waddington Lane. It's a small village which quietly minds its own business alongside that main road. It doesn't sit on the A1133 as such, rather it runs alongside it, with the vast majority of it on a parallel road. And those roads are very much not suited for all types of vehicle. Here we have a sign stating that HGVs are not advised to come down here. These are narrow, country, village roads. That's part of Besthorpe's charm. It's not a village that's been taken over by a great influx of new builds and monotonous housing estates. It's a very characterful village, and long may that continue. The name Besthorpe is believed to be of Danish origin, although there is evidence to suggest this tract of land was occupied long before the Viking invaders swept through here. There have been Romano-British finds, including a coin hoard here. A medieval building dating to the 12th century was excavated in 1976, and the oldest standing building here dates from the 16th century. Also still standing, we have an old Methodist chapel. There used to be a Quaker meeting room in the village too. In 1986, the Methodist chapel closed, leaving only the next building for Christian worship. This is Holy Trinity Church, a delightful small Victorian church dating from 1844. It was built as a replacement for an old chapel of ease to St Helena's Church at South Skull. I thought this church was open, and it is. There's a sign on the wall that says the church is open. This is a really small one, isn't it? Let's see what this one's like on the inside. Oh wow. Ah, now this is unusual, isn't it? So we've got a church which looks like it doubles as a community centre. There are no pews. Wow, I like this. I like this a lot. Trinity Hall, it seems to be called. Fancy seeing you in here. Good morning, ma'am. Awesome. Nice bunting too. Holy Trinity is unusual in that it's aligned north to south rather than the traditional orientation. In the porch, there are these 12th century stones which were unearthed in 2013. Around the back of the church is an old schoolroom dating from 1845, which these days is the village hall. It has a clock installed in 2000, which is now a regular feature of everyday life. This is the information board from which most of the stuff I'm telling you in this episode came from. My thanks to the author of this board, because the script for this one practically wrote itself. There's the constitutional parish notice board as well here in this central area of the village. Mark off Besthorpe everyone on all those imaginary scorecards. Life in Besthorpe centres around this area. Pretty much everything you need is right here in one place. It doesn't have a post office or a shop though, but there is a post box. In the centre of the green is a magnificent oak tree. This forms a welcoming sight for any visitors, myself included. It's particularly attractive in the springtime when it's in full blossom. I spent quite a bit of time there in and around the village green. There's a lot to see just there. So now we're heading north. This road runs in sort of a loopy fashion to the right, and then hits the 1133, where I'll turn south again and we'll pass the pub. Besthorpe was granted conservation status in 2008. By now you'll be getting an idea as to why. The general layout of the village is practically the same as on some 200-year-old maps, and I can't find any reason for it to change itself, honestly. It may be lacking when it comes to a shop, but the locals aren't adverse to a little roadside trade if this stall is anything to go by. And as a community, the people of Besthorpe are committed to the village being wildlife friendly too, enhancing the area for everyone. That's according to the information board back at the green. Environmentally, Besthorpe sits on the boundary between two key areas. These are the Nottinghamshire Sandlands, of which Spalford Warren is a part, and the Trent Washlands. The former gives Besthorpe most of its trees, including birch, oak and Scots pine. The latter, of course, provides the village with meadows and river pasture, mainly thanks to the River Fleet. That's the same watercourse which runs alongside Girton. This road here at the village's northern tip makes reference to the Fleet. So there's only a footpath on one side of the A1133, but that's okay, it's all I really need. The pub, by the way, is literally just a few paces down here from Fleet Lane. It's there, it's hiding behind that tree at the moment. Let's get a bit closer so we can check it out. Next is a bus stop. If you need public transport out here, this is the only way to go about it. There's no railway station, and the buses you need are the 609 and the 609B. So here we have the village's one and only pub. This is the Lord Nelson, which dates back well over 200 years. It's what's known as a wayside pub, being next to a road. As a result of that, it does quite well with passing trade. Note the steps here too. Those are mounting steps and would have been used by those who stopped by on horseback. Now, you'd be hard pushed to find a village anywhere like Besthorpe that hasn't had some kind of infilling. Next to the pub, there's a smaller area of new build housing. I would imagine the development of newer properties is limited somewhat by the conservation status it has. The older ones are still very much evident, like this one for example, which is the old post office. And speaking of older buildings, we're back almost where we began on Old School Lane, and that name gives you a massive clue as to what I'm about to show you in a moment. So Besthorpe is similar to other places we've seen with village greens in that you can't park on them. Please do not park on the greens. Here we have the old school, built in 1879 to replace the former National School, which became the current village hall. This closed in 2009, so only fairly recently. And we're back to the playing field. This was created in 1935 as part of George V's Jubilee celebrations. After some more development, it now includes much more than at first. There's still a play area and a wide expanse of playing field, but these days it has a wildflower meadow and a community orchard, as well as the multi-use games area and the car park. Alright, it's time for today's picture bits for Besthorpe. Here it comes right now. Okay, we're back at the car where we began, in the car park here in Besthorpe. Now, one thing you haven't seen in this episode is the River Trent. Now, I know a lot of people out there who either live in Besthorpe or know it will be questioning why I've not gone down to the Trent here. There's a very good reason for that, and you'll find out why in next week's episode. For now, this has been the Parish of Besthorpe, and I've been Andy, also known as the Village Idiot, and I'm out.